Greetings and welcome to the Introduction to Astronomy. In this week's Astronomy of Other Cultures, we continue our work in Muslim astronomy and talk about Shams al-Din al-Kafri and look at his contributions to astronomy of this era. So let's get started here. And what do we know about Shams al-Din al-Kafri? Well, we don't know when he was born, but lived until the year 1550 and did work on theology and astronomy. So maybe an interesting combination for the era then, that he worked both in religious fields as well as astronomical fields. And in fact is known for his commentary on al-Tusi, who we've talked about previously, as well as a critique of another astronomer we talked about in the past, al-Shirazi. Now, in terms of astronomy, some of the things that he did, and one of the main things that he looked at, was to look at new planetary theories for motion, and especially for Mercury and our moon. Now, those are two of the more... Mercury has a very elliptical orbit, so it deviated the most from a circle. And remember, we're still using circles here. Our moon has an unusual orbit too, and it's also the only one orbiting Earth, and with all of the other things in gravity that we didn't understand, it never quite worked the way we expected it to. So he did these based on earlier models, but then focused fully on uniform circular motion around Earth. So definitely making sure that we are looking at things that are Earth-centered here, and we can see a little bit of work from one of his books here. Now, in terms of one of his critiques, and one of that's been a common theme throughout the study of the Muslim astronomy of this era, was a critique of Ptolemy and the equant. If you recall, the equant was a way of setting up uniform motion not around the Earth, but around another point on the other side of the center. So Earth was off-center to one side, and the uniform motion was centered on a different point called the equant. And that bothered a lot of astronomers. And his work, the al-Takmila fi Shar at-Tadkira, was a major work in doing this criticism and trying to rework things so that uniform motion was not around the equant point, but around the Earth. Because if you want Earth at the center, then it really doesn't make a lot of sense to have Earth moved off from the center to explain the motion. So his models, he was able to do models avoiding using the equant. So he focused on things like uniform circular motion, as I've said, centered around Earth, and used, instead of just one epicycle, but multiple epicycles could then be used. And that would allow you to explain the motion properly and brings Earth back to the center of motion. Now we're getting real close to the era of Copernicus here, and in fact overlaps with Copernicus slightly. But that would be the change is coming. So here we're getting Earth back to the center, but not much longer we will be switching and putting the sun at the center instead and learning the true structure of the solar system. But as you remember, this is what everyone had been doing for thousands of years since the era of Ptolemy, had everything with uniform motion, everything trying to center it on the Earth or very close to the Earth. And we still have not yet at this era quite broken away from that. So let's go ahead and finish up with our summary. What we've looked at today was Shams al-Din al-Kafri lived until 1550 and is known for his work in astronomy and theology in Persia. And he focused on models with uniform circular motion and the Earth at the center, eliminating the need for the equant that Ptolemy had put in his models. So that concludes this discussion on Shams al-Din al-Kafri. We'll be back again next week to talk about another astronomer of the Muslim world. So until then, have a great day, everyone, and I will see you in class.